The year is 1918. The world has just finished the worst group project ever. The Great War? The war to end all wars? Whatever you historians want to call it, 20 million dead, 4 empires gone, and everyone swears it'll never happen again. Spoiler, it absolutely will. Germany, the one who caused all the trouble, are forced to foot the bill, and more, through the Treaty of Versailles. They're told to pay 132 billion gold marks in reparations, about 33 billion US dollars back then, or well over 400 billion US dollars today. Also, Germany has to give up some of its land, all its overseas colonies, and the coal-rich Saar Basin for 15 years. To rub salt in, their army is stripped down to 100,000 men, no tanks, no air force, no submarines, just a handful of ships. And the final nail in the coffin is, the treaty contains war guilt clause, forcing Germany to accept sole responsibility for starting the war. Germany collapses faster than its currency. Few billion marks just for a lousy loaf of bread? Prices going up in the matter of minutes? That's freaking bull. Money becomes so worthless, German people used money as wallpaper or fuel. Talk about cash burning. Out of this chaos grows the feeling that democracy is weak and revenge is justice. Radical parties spring up, promising to make Germany proud again. Among them, a small loud group called the National Socialist German Workers' Party, led by a man named Adolf Hitler. A World War I veteran, failed art student, and gifted speaker, he blames Germany's pain on Versailles, foreign powers, and minorities. In 1923, he tries to overthrow the government, fails, spends 9 months in jail, and writes Mein Kampf, basically his manifesto. Then comes 1929, the Great Depression. Banks fail, factories shut, and hunger spreads. Hitler's promises of work and vengeance suddenly sound reasonable. By 1933, he becomes Germany's chancellor, and all the hailing starts. In Italy, Benito Mussolini, the former schoolteacher turned balcony influencer, rises to power, promising to revive the glory of Roman Empire. What Italy actually gets is a lot of parades, bad economics, and sand, mostly from failed adventures in Africa. Last but not least, after years of crisis, military generals shove Japan's democracy out of the cockpit and decide to build an empire out of the small island country. Led by General Hideki Tojo, they take Manchuria in 1931, then launch full-scale war against China in 1937, turning cities like Nanjing into horror shows. They justify it as the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, basically Asian unity under Japanese rule. It's not very prosperous for anyone else. Together, the three form the Axis Hitler, the Hailing, Mussolini, the Motormouth, and Tojo, the Army Men, the League of Nations, created to keep peace, handles crises like a bad customer service line. Japan invades Manchuria. They send a letter. Italy invades Ethiopia. Another letter. Germany rearms, well, more letters. It's basically an international group chat where everyone's on mute. It's 1938. Hitler annexes Austria, calls it a family reunion, then demands the Sudetenland, a part of Czechoslovakia inhabited mainly by Germans. Britain and France, terrified of another world war, say, fine, take it, but no more. Hitler agrees to a deal, and Neville Chamberlain waves the deal in front of a cheering crowd and declares, peace in our time. 8 months later, Hitler takes the rest of Czechoslovakia. Surprise? September 1st, 1939, Germany invades Poland. The tactic is called Blitzkrieg. Lightning war with 1.5 million troops, 1,500 planes, and 2,000 tanks. The Polish army, still on horseback, never stands a chance. Britain and France finally declare war. The Soviets invade from the east, thanks to a secret deal to split Poland. World War II officially begins. Over the next months, Germany steamrolls Denmark, Norway, Belgium, and the Netherlands, next in line. France. France actually has the perfect wall to stop the Germans, the Maginot Line. So good yet so bad. France forgets to extend it through Belgium, and Germany just walks around it through the Ardennes. Without much of a fight, France, one of the winners of World War I, falls in 6 weeks. France signs an armistice in the same railcar Germany did in 1918. Just because. Ouch. Britain now stands alone. Hitler expects Britain to quit on its own. Instead, he meets the Royal Air Force. To invade the UK, Germany first needs air control. From July to October 1940, the Luftwaffe bombs airfields, radar stations, and cities. Every day, Britain's Spitfires and Hurricanes scramble to meet them. At first, Britain's on the ropes, planes downed, pilots exhausted, and severely outnumbered. Then Germany makes a mistake. Radar keeps spotting raids before they arrive. British factories rebuild planes faster than they're lost. When winter comes, Hitler calls off the invasion. It's the first major defeat of the Nazi war machine. Britain still stands, battered but unbroken. As Churchill says, never was so much owed by so many to so few. While the Blitz fills the skies, a quieter war rages below the waves. German U-boats prowl the Atlantic, sinking ships that feed and arm Britain. Convoys form for protection, escorted by destroyers and depth charges. Early on, the U-boats win, torpedoing hundreds of vessels, and continue to be an enigma for the Brits. Britain faces starvation. Then technology tips the scale. New radar, sonar, and the codebreakers at Bletchley Park, who crack the enigma, the German encryption machine. By 1943, U-boats become the hunted. The Atlantic turns from death trap to lifeline. In North Africa, Italy's armies stumble toward Egypt, so Hitler sends General Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox. In the East, Germany plots something far bigger: invade the Soviet Union. And across the Pacific, Japan keeps grabbing territories for oil and rubber. Half the planet is now at war. June 22, 1941, Hitler launches Operation Barbarossa, the largest invasion in history. 3 million German soldiers, 3,500 tanks, and 2,000 planes flood into the USSR. Cities fall, armies encircled, millions captured. At first, it works. Kiev, Smolensk, Minsk fall. Soviet loses 3 million soldiers in just 5 months. Then it doesn't. By autumn, they're at the gates of Moscow. Then comes the mud, then the snow, then the Siberians. Trains arrive from the east, carrying fresh troops in white camouflage and proper coats. They counterattack. German tanks freeze. Men die in the cold. The Germans are pushed back 100 miles. Hitler's lightning has met its first winter. Lesson learned: never invade Russia's in winter, or ever. Meanwhile, in Asia, Japan's empire stretches from Manchuria to Vietnam, but it needs oil. When America cuts off supplies, Tokyo plans to take it from the Dutch East Indies, British Malayas, and the Philippines. First, though, they must neutralize the U.S. Pacific Fleet. 1941. A quiet Sunday morning in Hawaii erupts into flame. Japanese planes swoop in and bomb Pearl Harbor. 8 battleships damaged or sunk, 2,400 Americans dead. The next day, Roosevelt calls it a date which will live in infamy. Congress declares war. Germany and Italy declare on America too, because apparently they enjoy bad decisions. Finally, the Allies, a weird yet formidable counterpart to the Axis, is now complete. At the core stands Britain, bombed day and night, but too stubborn to quit. Then there's the Soviet Union, huge, cold, and very, very angry after Germany's invasion. The Red Army is bleeding heavily, but it's also learning fast. Across the Pacific, China has already been fighting Japan since 1937, tying down over 1 million Japanese troops. And now comes the United States. The sleeping giant brings more factories, oil, and movies than the Axis could ever dream of. Around them gather others: Canada, Australia, India, Free France, and a dozen others, each tossing in troops, ships, or whatever they can find. They don't always agree on politics, food, or whether Stalin can be trusted, but they do agree on one thing: Hitler, Mussolini, and Tojo, the Axis, have to go. The World War is now truly global. Every continent, every ocean, every nation is drawn in. After Pearl Harbor, America goes from isolation to overdrive. Factories hum 24 hours a day. Typewriters turn into machine guns, cars into tanks, and the U.S. economy becomes the arsenal of democracy. Meanwhile, the Axis is overextended. Japan's spread thin across the Pacific. Germany's bogged down in Russia. Italy's getting beat up in North Africa. The world's about to change teams. Now, let's step aside from the war part for a bit and talk about another important aspect: money. Sure, wars run on courage, determination, discipline, you name it. But money makes the world go round, am I right? So how did both sides fund their biggest war ever? The US sold over $180 billion in war bonds, just like what the captain sold in the first Avenger, and half of the US population bought one. They also raised income tax rates, rationed gasoline, rubber, sugar, and coffee, and told people to plant victory gardens. Britain drained its gold reserves, sold off overseas assets, borrowed heavily from the US, and leaned hard on its empire. India, Malaya, and Africa supplied troops, food, and raw materials, often without being asked nicely. The Soviet Union moved hundreds of factories to keep them safe from the Germans, relied on forced labor, and received $11 billion worth of tanks, planes, and spam from America's Lend-Lease Act. Meanwhile, the Axis powers were basically robbing everyone at sword point. Germany issued fake corporate vouchers called Mefo bills to buy guns, looted gold from conquered banks, stole Jewish property, and forced occupied countries to pay occupation costs. Japan issued puppet currencies, the infamous banana money, not featuring real banana, disappointing I know, and stripped Asia of rice, oil, tin, and labor. Italy just borrowed until it went broke. June 1942. Japan plans to finish the US Navy by ambushing its carriers near Midway Island. They don't know American codebreakers cracked their naval cipher. Admiral Nimitz sets a trap. When Japan's planes launch against Midway, American dive bombers appear out of the clouds. In 5 glorious minutes, 4 Japanese aircraft carriers are burning, 3,000 sailors lost. The same 4 carriers that attacked Pearl Harbor, gone. Talk about a plan gone bad. Midway ends Japan's streak of victory. From now on, the US pushes west one island at a time. It's the moment the Pacific War starts running backward toward Tokyo. While the Pacific turns, North Africa is a sandstorm of tanks. Germany's Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, has been outsmarting allies for a year, but his supply lines are crumbled and fuel is gone. October 1942, British General Montgomery strikes at El Alamein in Egypt. 1,000 tanks, 200,000 troops, a week of shelling so loud you could hear it in Cairo. Rommel retreats. The Axis never recovers North Africa. Churchill celebrates, "Before Alamein, we never had a victory. After Alamein, we never had a defeat. El Alamein saves the Suez Canal and the oil routes that keep Britain alive." At the same time, half a world away, the bloodiest battle in human history rages. Hitler wants the oil fields of the Caucasus and the city named after Stalin. He throws 600,000 men at it. By August 1942, Stalingrad is a charred skeleton. Every building is a fortress, every street a sniper alley. Civilians still assemble tanks in factories under bombardment. When winter returns, the Soviets strike back, Operation Uranus, encircling the Germans. Hitler forbids retreat. Starvation does the rest. By February 1943, 91,000 German soldiers surrender. 500,000 are dead. Stalingrad costs 2 million lives and breaks the Germans' spine. From here on, the Red Army moves west and never stops. Summer 1943. Hitler tries one last eastern offensive around the city of Kursk. 6,000 tanks, 2 million men, 4,000 planes, the largest armored battle ever. But the Soviets know what's coming. They've mined the ground and dug a defensive belt hundreds of miles wide. Within a week, Germany's best divisions are wrecked. The Soviet steamroller is now unstoppable. In July 1943, the Allies land in Sicily. Within days, Mussolini's own government overthrows him. Italy switches sides, but Germany occupies the north and fights on. For 2 grueling years, the Allies crawl up the peninsula from Naples to Rome to the Alps, losing tens of thousands. Mussolini ends up captured and executed by his people, the first of the Axis to fall. June 6, 1944. The Allies crossed the English Channel with 156,000 men, 5,000 ships, and 11,000 planes. Operation Overlord, better known as D-Day. Bad weather nearly cancels it, but Eisenhower says 2 words: "We go." They land on 5 beaches: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, Sword. Omaha is a nightmare. Machine gun fire, mines, chaos. 2,000 casualties in the morning, but by nightfall, the beaches are secure. Paratroopers drop behind enemy lines, French resistance sabotage trains, and by August, Paris is free. It's the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. December 1944. Hitler throws one last counterpunch through Belgium's Ardennes forest. Snow, fog, and surprise nearly split the Allies apart. At Bastogne, surrounded U.S. paratroopers are ordered to surrender. Their commander replies with one word: nuts. The skies clear, Allied air power returns. Germany's final offensive collapses. The road to Berlin is open, April 1945. The Soviets storm Berlin from the east. The Western Allies halt on the Elbe River. The Germans are so desperate, they force civilians to fight with next to no armaments, forcing them to loot for one. The first looter-shooter ever. Street fighting turns the capital to rubble. Hitler hides in his bunker, still issuing orders to armies that no longer exist. April 30th, Hitler's dead. May 8th, Germany surrenders. Europe finally can stop hailing, but the Pacific still burns. Island by island, the U.S. closes in on Japan. Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Saipan, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, each one a bloodbath. At Iwo Jima, 20,000 Japanese defenders fight to the death, literally. At Okinawa, kamikaze pilots turn the sky into fire. Impressive, but is it worth it? An invasion of Japan could cost millions of lives. America looks for another way. Back in America, the Manhattan Project has been building a new kind of weapon, one that splits atoms and unleashes the sun. August 6, 1945, Hiroshima. One bomb and mushroom cloud later, 80,000 dead instantly. August 9th, Nagasaki. Another mushroom cloud, another city gone. The emperor finally speaks to his people. The war situation has developed not necessarily to our advantage. August 15th, Japan surrenders. After 6 years, World War II is over. 85 million dead, cities in ashes, economies wrecked. But out of the ruins come new institutions. The United Nations to keep peace, the World Bank and IMF to rebuild it. It ended empires, created new nations, proved the power of industry, and gave the world the tools to end itself.